In a world where information is literally at our fingertips, traditional news sources, once the pillars of truth and accountability, are struggling to connect with the very generation that holds its future in its hands. Young adults are turning away, seeking news in new, uncharted territories. But why? What's driving this disconnection, and what does it mean for the future of journalism? In this series, we're going to dive into the shifting media landscape, the rise of social media, and the voices of a generation that feels more disconnected from newsrooms than ever. Join me as I explore the challenges, innovations, and the possibilities for bridging the gap between young adults and the news that they need. Let's begin by hearing someone who's been on the front lines of this change, a current news anchor.
I've been in the broadcast industry for almost 25 years now. Yeah, kind of a long time.
Marissa Yamane is a seasoned anchor from multiple news stations here on the island. She has witnessed firsthand the shift in how younger adults engage with news. I sat down with Marissa to discuss the challenges and surprises this changing landscape brings to traditional broadcasters. Here's what Marissa had to say.
A lot of people these days, older people as well, go onto social media. It's here to stay. In a way, I mean, it's changed things for the news business itself, good and bad. For us, we're able to find out information. We have to verify it, but we're able to reach out to people in ways we haven't been able to before. We go onto their social media page and we're able to reach them. That has helped us a bit. For people that consume their news only through social media, it hurts us as well. They don't have to verify on social media whether something's accurate. As journalists, we do.
As social media becomes more dominant, newsrooms are rethinking how they present their stories. It's about speed, but also trust. But what happens when the immediacy of social media sacrifices depth, or when misinformation spreads faster than facts?
Sometimes the line gets blurred. This day and age, I'm not sure if people know what that line is because they take something they see on social media as fact. That's kind of a difficult thing for us to overcome because we would like people to still continue to trust us journalists, the traditional ways that we verify news.
As misinformation spreads quickly on social media, news stations face a new challenge. They can no longer wait for young adults to come to them. Instead, they must meet their audience where they are.
I think that we have to go to them. Back in the olden days, you had the newspaper, you had TV news. That's kind of it. So people had to come to you. Now it's reverse, where you kind of have to go to them because whether it's TikTok or any of the other social media apps, you have to go to them, and people kind of want things given to them like a push alert. They want it handed to them as opposed to them going and seeking out information. It used to be you have to give them stories that they need to know about. Now it's what they want to know about, because just like with social media, if you're not interested, you keep scrolling. And so just like with broadcasting, if it's a story that I'm not interested in, then I'm flipping the channel. Therein lies the challenge as well.
While meeting the audience on social media has helped news stations stay relevant, it has also come with its own set of challenges, as Marissa explains.
It's definitely positive and negative. Because so many people are going to social media and online for information, there aren't as many viewers as there were before. And because there aren't as many viewers, advertisement dollars are not as high as they used to be. Because there aren't as much advertising dollars coming in, we don't necessarily have as big of a staff as before. As a result, we have to do a lot more with a lot less.
While current news anchors like Marissa are adapting in real time, others like our next guest have spent years directing, producing, and managing the news, and observing these changes from a broader perspective.
I'm Janice Jin. I've been in broadcasting for more than 40 years, and I most recently was the news director at KITV here in Honolulu. I think broadcast is one of the most viable platforms that we have available in a very big picture. It is free to everybody. All these licensed television stations, radio stations are free. That's why when you have emergency kit, they always say have a radio with batteries so you can listen to radio over the air. It's the same content, it's just delivered differently. Broadcast is so important in that time of emergency urgency that we really need to keep it alive, but we need young people, old people to rely on that service to get that information. My scare about social media is that there's a rush to get things out there because you can. You can make content and put it anywhere you want. Say whatever you want, not regulated by anybody, and the people who are consuming it don't know the difference. So what we have to do as a society is teach young people, teach all of us to be discerning. You read it on social media, is it true? How do you check it? How do you know that it's true? Should you believe it?
While traditional news remains essential, Janice acknowledges that younger audiences often see it as dated.
I think young people don't have really a hard opinion about old-time established outlets because they don't watch it. They think of it as being old-fashioned already, so it's already discounted. The distrust comes from learning more things than your parents knew. This generation, we do know, is open to asking questions. However, they are not necessarily open to learning from them. They're not moved by it. They'll ask the question, but they're not swayed by the answer. But at least they're open to hearing it, so that's important.
Janice recalls a time when her class admitted to not watching the news at all, raising concerns about their information disconnect.
When I asked my last class, how many of you watch local television news? Nobody. No one. Zero. I said, how many of you are local? I understand when you're coming from out of state and you're moving to Hawaii, you don't know who to watch. You don't know who to care about. But if you're local, you have some history of your parents watch. They were very not interested. I think you need to be interested in what's going on. Like when the whole Palestinian protests happened. My question really to the class was, I'm not asking you to take a position. What do you know about the Palestinian question? How do you learn about the Palestinian question? And do you trust what you watch? You obviously don't know it, so how are you going to learn it? So where are you going to get it from? If you're going to get it from traditional news, are you watching? You have to watch that. You have to listen to that. Or are you flipping through and finding out about Taylor Swift?
To bridge this gap, Janice is now teaching classes that encourage students to watch local news.
This is what I found. My last class, their assignment is to watch television news twice a week. Local television news. Pick whatever show you want. At the end of the semester, I had about a handful of students who said, you know, now that I started watching it, it was part of my mainstay. Every day, I now have television on every morning as I get ready for school. I listen to that station television every night before I go to bed. To me, that's success. That's giving you a diet of having to do that. That's the whole thing about why we need to learn to trust. So that's why people who run media need to earn the trust of everybody, no matter what age, and get you used to this idea of why it's important.
As we look ahead, both Marissa and Janice share their thoughts on where traditional news sources might be in the next decade.
I hope that the broadcast industry will survive. What I know is that broadcasting costs a lot of money, a lot of money. And it's unfortunate that it's about money. So I fear that a way that broadcasting will stay afloat is if it is funded by very deep pockets. And I don't know where those deep pockets are.
I hope that it'll still be around. It's really changed in the past 20, 25 years that I've been around. Social media wasn't as prevalent. We had MySpace. You probably don't even remember that. People didn't go on social media as often as today. I mean, people wake up and they're scrolling. So that's how they get their information. I think people in Hawaii still have a habit of turning on the TV. Sometimes it's just for entertainment though. It's to see what's going on. I'm not sure what it'll look like, especially if ad dollars continue to dwindle, because what can the companies afford and how many people can they afford to pay? And the model is going to keep changing.
It also takes a lot of dedication and commitment, I think, upon journalists to want to tell that story. And that's the thing that I hope that I can compel my classes into thinking about becoming journalists because the value they bring to the table. It's about stories from your community. How many times do you feel nobody's listening to us? How many times do you hear that? This is an opportunity for a journalist to tell those stories. And if not you, then who?
And that's just the beginning of the conversation. In our next episode, we'll take a deeper look at how the news is accessed today, and we'll dive into the current state of journalism. We'll hear directly from newsroom employees about how they're adapting to social media's influence and how they're using these platforms to stay relevant in an industry that's rapidly changing. Stay tuned as we explore how social media is not just reshaping how news is consumed, but also how it's being reported, produced, and shared by those on the inside. I'm Kaylee Pasco-Martinez, and this has been our exploration of the shifting news landscape. Stay informed, stay curious.